Hello everyone. This fall I spent 2 days in Montreal, Quebec, a city well known for its variety of transit systems. Fortunately, I was able to get some good rail fanning done at a favorite spot of mine known as Dorval. Let's see what trains come by in my 2-hour stay. Dorval Station, in my opinion, offers the best rail fanning in Montreal. Here's why. Located on Montreal's south shore, Dorval is actually two different stations. First, the Via Rail platform on the south is located at the end of the Canadian National's Kingston subdivision, and the Via Rail's corridor, which is the line that serves Canada's capital, Ottawa, and Toronto. On this side, you can see a handful of Canadian National trains and Via Rail trains on any given day, at any given time. To the north is the EXO platform, the name for Montreal's commuter rail. These tracks are owned by Canadian Pacific, who run less trains than Canadian National, but still quite the handful. We arrived at Dorval just in time for afternoon rush hour. I quickly checked out the waiting room here at the Via Rail side of Dorval, which is surprisingly nice and spacious. Dorval is kind of like Boston's Route 128 station. It serves the outskirts of the city and allows people to take the train in without having to commit to going into the city. Dorval is also conveniently located next to Montreal's airport, making this a great place for plane spotting. Checking the board, I notice our first train is due in 8 minutes, via 26 from the capital city of Ottawa, arriving on track 1. Leading 26 is an F40PH-2, number 6414. Canada classifies this locomotive as a GPA 30H. Most trains wait at Dorval for at least 5 minutes to allow for the influx of passengers to take their time disembarking and boarding the train. As I said, this is a vital station on the Via Rail corridor. Once all passengers have boarded, train 26 gets the okay to go out of Dorval. This via is the last one for an hour, so let's check out the commuter rail platform. It's just a quick walk up the platform, into the EXO bus station, down the stairs, through the underground hallway, and back up before you find yourself on the Canadian Pacific Main Line. Unlike the Via Rail side, which only utilizes one of the platforms, EXO uses both platforms for both tracks 1 and 2. At 4:07, our first EXO train arrives. This train is powered by F59 PHI locomotive 1329. F59 PHIs are growing increasingly rare down in the States, so it's cool to see one in a different setting. Now here's something interesting. XO runs its trains differently than transit authorities like the MBTA down in Boston, and more similar to Metra out west in Chicago. This method schedules commuter rail service around the workday. Basically, train service is based on when people would historically go in and out of the city. Almost all trains in the morning go into the city, and all trains in the afternoon go out. This schedule does benefit the Canadian Pacific trains that run on this line, though. Less passenger trains during some points of the day eases congestion. Anyways, from the XO platform, I have a great vantage point of all mainline tracks in both sides. And it isn't long until I spot our next train, a westbound Canadian National Manifest. All it takes is running back through the tunnel to get over to the other platform. Not as hard as it sounds. I thought that this would be the end of the Canadian national traffic, so I began walking back to the XO platform. But boy was I wrong. Only minutes later, another Canadian national, this time going east, caught me by surprise. This sudden spur in freight is due to the current lack of via rail traffic. No via for an hour. And because of this, CN has 1 hour to funnel through their freight traffic. In this hour, however, only these two freight trains pass. So it was back to the XO platform. For real this time. This XO train features one of their Bombardier ALP 45 DPs. These locomotives are dual modes, meaning they run on diesel power, like now, and electric power. Not so long after is the arrival of eastbound Via Train 64. This train is finishing its journey to Montreal Central Station after coming all the way from Toronto. As this train pulls to a stop at Dorval, I can hear the defect detector inform the crew that their train has no defects that should affect its travel.
Température 2, 3, c'est total, essieu 1, Set. CN detector. Sign of 1, 4, 2. No alarms. Temperature 2, 3. C. Total axle 1, 6. Speed 2, 7.
The car on the back of this train is one of Via's corridor coaches. Built by Bud in the late 1940s, this car certainly isn't getting any younger. Just east of Dorval Station are two major freight rail yards for both CP and CN. From these yards you can hear all sorts of radio chatter, most of which is spoken in French. Now that's something you don't see down in the States. Given my relative fluency of French, I was able to understand that a Canadian Pacific train had gained clearance out of the yard and towards Dorval. Sure enough, within 5 minutes they appeared in the distance. Our CP train was instructed to pull all the way to the East Dorval signals and wait for the next XO outbound to pass, which is happening right about now. These next 10 minutes are probably the most insane and action-packed railfanning I have ever seen. And it all starts with something that any railfan would love to see: a race. After picking up their passengers, the westbound Via Rail is the first to leave the station, crowning itself as the clear winner of this race. However, the XO doesn't leave much later, and with XO heading west, the Canadian Pacific Intermodal now has a clear signal onto the main line. Canadian Pacific has seen a lot of change this past year. On April 14th, Canadian Pacific officially merged with Kansas City Southern, creating the first freight railroad to serve Canada, the United States, and Mexico. As a result of the merger, CP was also rebranded into CPKC. As our CPKC train passes by, so does yet another XO, this time in the other direction. This is the only XO commuter train to go eastbound during rush hour. I think that's a pretty wacky schedule if you ask me. As the XO gets the OK je vais, or OK to go, out of Dorval, I notice a small sliver of light through the trees. That's right, another train! I quickly scurry over to the fence to capture a westbound Canadian National Manifest, with SD75I 5688 leading. These locomotives are not common on American railroads, so this sure was a treat. And with these two trains fading into the distance, that makes 5 trains in about 10 minutes on only 2 tracks. The only other place I have seen action this robust is back home in Boston on the Northeast Corridor.
Temperature 23 C. Total axle 28. Speed 92.
And what a great note to end a video with. I hope you all realize just how special Dorval is after watching this. I for one believe there is nowhere like it, and I'm so glad to have gone for a visit. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed Boston by Rail's Over the Border, and I will see you all again soon, out there on the rail.